Trump, Netanyahu, or the Europeans, all of them were seeking to provoke, to create division.
Tensions are skyrocketing in the Middle East as Iran blames the US, Israel, and European powers for fueling nationwide protests and warns the world that it's ready for talks or war.
Of course, in the course of these developments, unfortunately, we all know this to be true.
Whether Trump, Netanyahu, or the Europeans, all of them were seeking to provoke, to create division, and they then got innocent people to join this movement and poured them out onto the streets.
Iran has seen weeks of nationwide protests over soaring inflation and a crushing economic crisis. According to US-based rights group HRANA, at least 6,563 people have been killed, including over 6,000 protesters. Iran's own officials report more than 3,000 deaths, mostly security forces and bystanders. The protests have now calmed after a bloody crackdown, but the scars run deep and tensions with foreign powers are mounting. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian accused the US, Israel, and Europe of exploiting Iran's economic troubles to incite unrest and tear the nation apart.
And they were instigating that this nation, as they put it, should be torn to pieces, creating conflict and hatred among the people and sowing discord. In no ordinary social protest do they take up guns. They do not kill military personnel. They do not set ambulances on fire, nor do they burn down the market. They are protesting. It is our duty to sit and listen carefully to their words, and we are obligated to address their concerns. We are ready to listen.
Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi echoed this, saying foreign powers supplied resources to draw some innocent people into the protests. Pezeshkian added they wanted to sow conflict and hatred among the people and create division.
Whether Trump, Netanyahu, or the Europeans, all of them were seeking to provoke, to create division, and they equipped.
Meanwhile, Trump, Netanyahu, and European leaders have repeatedly expressed support for the demonstrators, raising fears of foreign interference in Iran's domestic affairs. The US has deployed a naval strike group in the Middle East, and Trump warned it's ready, willing, and able to act if Iran continues to kill protesters. An Israeli port also recently welcomed a US Navy destroyer, signaling rising regional tensions. Iran, however, is standing firm. Araghchi stated that missiles will never be a topic for negotiation, and that Tehran is prepared for either negotiations or warfare. He stressed the country's system is deeply rooted, dismissing notions of regime change as a complete fantasy. Regional powers like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE are now working behind the scenes to prevent a military confrontation and encourage dialogue. Iran says it is willing to negotiate, but not under the shadow of threats. So the world watches as Iran balances between diplomacy and defiance, while protests, foreign involvement, and military threats keep the Middle East on edge.
Just in, the Middle East is on edge tonight. Behind closed doors, senior U.S. military officials are warning allies that American strikes on Iran could come as early as this weekend. And while no final order has been given, the signals are getting louder. Multiple reports from Reuters, DropSite News, and former U.S. intelligence officials say key Arab allies have been quietly notified of possible action. The timing? As soon as Sunday, February 1st. The potential targets are not random. We're talking about Iran's military and nuclear infrastructure, ballistic missile facilities, and most significantly, top leaders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. The strategy being discussed is described by sources as a decapitation strike. The goal? Remove senior IRGC leaders and spark mass protests inside Iran, potentially pushing the regime toward collapse. Some reports even suggest Israel is involved in these talks, with Prime Minister Netanyahu allegedly telling President Trump that Israel would help support a pro-Western government in Iran if the opportunity arises. But here's the key detail. President Trump has not made a final decision. Publicly, Trump is still pushing diplomacy. He has urged Iran to return to nuclear talks, while warning that any attack would be far worse than the June 2025 strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. At the same time, an American armada, including the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, is moving into position. Trump himself saying America is ready to act with speed and violence if necessary. Iran, for its part, is not bluffing. Tehran has warned that any U.S. strike would be seen as an act of war. Retaliation would be immediate, targeting U.S. bases, regional allies, and potentially Israel itself. And then there's Saudi Arabia, sending mixed signals. Publicly, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has told Iran that Saudi airspace, territory, and waters will not be used for attacks. The UAE has said the same, limiting U.S. options for land-based strikes. But privately, Saudi Defense Minister Prince Khalid bin Salman has been telling Washington that failure to act would embolden Iran. Sources say he argued Trump would have to take action. In other words, public distance, private pressure. Adding to the tension, Iran has announced a 2-day live-fire naval drill by the IRGC in the Strait of Hormuz, starting Sunday. This is one of the most critical shipping lanes on Earth, handling a huge share of the world's oil supply. U.S. Central Command has responded sharply, warning the IRGC to operate safely and professionally, and making it clear any threat to freedom of navigation will not be tolerated. Right now, no strikes have been confirmed. The word being used is imminent, not hours, but days or weeks. Diplomatic channels through Turkey, Qatar, and Oman are still open, but time, according to sources, is running out. With militaries on alert, allies hedging their bets, and the risk of a regional war hanging in the balance, the next move could change the Middle East forever.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One India app now.